welcome back to Punklaw 101. I am Walter Deptuch. I am one of your hosts for today. Your other host will be on in a second. His name is John Rinaldi, and we are talking about this podcast, by the way, was recorded on, I believe, either Saturday, May 30th or Sunday, May 31st. So this was right after the initial riot in Minnesota. This was a little bit of a delay. I've had some technical issues over the past few weeks, if you might have been paying attention, so I wasn't able to take on any guest podcast, and then when I recorded this, there was just so much going on. I kind of wanted to keep up to date with everything. But this was our initial reaction to what happened. This was before the protests started really spreading. I do another episode addressing all the stuff from all the protests and what happened on all over the place, and what now people are talking about is how to resolve some of these issues. We'll be back to doing this as a weekly thing as far as getting episodes out. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome on our buddy John Rinaldi, and I'll give you that initial warning I do every episode. Warning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered a substitute for legal advice. And if you have a question or wish to act upon the information in this podcast, we recommend you consult an attorney in your particular state.
That cop out in Minneapolis, he's so fucked.
Dude,
I don't think reality is set in for him, because I've been watching Fox, and even Fox is like, all right, man, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Oh no, when Fox is not coming to the aid of a police officer in distress.
Yeah, but here's the thing, so what are they charge him with third-degree murder, which is I think it's 25 years maximum in Minnesota.
Yeah.
They could always amend it, and they probably could amend it later on.
I'm willing to bet they will.
I'm willing to bet they won't. If
I don't know, man.
If Mike Freeman is still the prosecutor on it, and if he does not recuse himself, I do not think he does. I do not think he indicts him for anything higher.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, because did you read the Emmy report?
Oh yeah, I saw snippets of that today. I didn't read the whole thing, but I did catch a few snippets when I was hanging out by the waterfront.
That thing was a little bit of bullshit, and it very much.
But people know that.
Do they? I mean, especially when the prosecutor was very remiss to go ahead and charge him and waited 4 days to charge him after everything, and it's not like they don't arrest people.
I mean, look, the way I view it is this: if you really want to let this guy off easy, fine, but be ready for your city to burn again, and if you think that's a fair trade-off, well, then fine, you do that. Frankly, if I were that cop, I'd just eaten a bullet by now. Just do the right thing. Fuck it, I'm done. just walk out. My wife left me. I'm done. Because he's not. Even if he doesn't do jail time, you think he's gonna have a good life after this?
I mean, what's his name? The Zimmerman.
He's not having a good time either. He keeps on complaining that people keep giving him death threats. Well, no, fuck you, idiot.
You'd be shocked that people will forget what somebody looks like and care about him. He'll change his, if he gets off on this, he will change his name. You will never hear from the guy again. And again, it's not like Zimmerman had that's
not a great life. I don't want to abandon my identity.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm just saying again, I think with I think Freeman needs to recuse himself. I think it's ridiculous that we don't have independent bodies in states that do this. There's not an independent prosecutor that does that kind of work.
Now, between you and me, because it's not very lawyerly of me, I kind of want to see them lynch him. And now I have no real feelings about this either way. It's just the prospect of a former police officer being hanged by mob justice in America would be such a once in a lifetime event that I kind of want to see it happen. Do I think it will happen? No. Do I think it should happen? No. But deep down, it's kind of oh look, I saw Halley's Comet. This isn't going to happen again for a very long time.
I don't see that happening either.
I don't either. But that's what the sheer novelty of it would be fascinating. And just imagine all of the Law Journal articles about it.
I'll make sure
Lord knows that would be
into the recording.
I don't care. People can know who the fuck I am. Look, just from a strictly academic sense, I want to see him hang.
Not because I want it to happen. Well, that was one of the things about him being charged with murder 3 is they have the death penalty in Minnesota, I
Which,
believe.
like, in fairness, I don't think they should kill him for it.
No, I don't think so
So, like,
either.
fair enough. Okay, like, fair enough.
Part of what the problem with what they charged him with was like his bail was set at 500,000, whereas if they charged him with murder 2, it would be they could actually remand him and not let him be able, like, he could flee the country still. Like, he'll be out.
I
500,000
don't think he's gonna
bond.
flee the country.
I don't know. I mean, you just said it. He's
That
not
one
gonna have.
cop, that one cop in Texas didn't flee the country, and there was no way in hell she was getting off with anything.
Well,
Fucking walked in some dude's house and shot him.
oh yeah, that was.
And she didn't flee the country; she stuck around. So if she didn't run, I don't think he's gonna
Yeah,
run
but
either.
there weren't as many massive protests about that either. Like,
This is
it was
true.
it was public knowledge, it was public news, and everybody thought what she did was wrong too. But it
Yeah, but
wasn't like, and she was
yeah.
quickly indicted too. And that
Well,
was a
I
little
mean,
bit.
how could you not? Like, you
Yeah,
can't just walk into someone's apartment and shoot him while he's eating ice cream. You can't do that.
yeah. I don't care what your argument is
Like,
here.
police officer or not, it's just not okay.
Yeah, that's
But
not
but
good
yeah,
at all.
but like I've been like noticing though, like I feel like the public's tolerance for this bullshit has been dropping quite a bit. Because there was that one cop in Newark who like fucking shot that dude during a high speed chase, and the police union dropped his ass instantly.
Well, and it's an intriguing. I think it also is all kind of where you are too. New Jersey, for all the flack that New Jersey gets, the one thing that they seem to be is, at least on that end, they have a very rigorous internal affairs process, from what I
I
understand.
mean, yeah, but like I had the pleasure of speaking to some Newark cops like shortly after he was indicted,
Mm-hmm.
and like from this was over at Kilkenny's actually. I was hanging out there and some Newark cops there, and what they were telling me is kind of like, yeah, he fucked up, but they were surprised with the swiftness with which he was abandoned. And they're like, yeah, well, he's probably fucked. What sucks is that kid, he's like a 26-year-old rookie too, so his career did not start off very well.
Well, and that's the other thing is Freeman. Since going back to the Minnesota thing, is Freeman did convict a cop of shooting somebody. It just happened to be a black cop shooting a white woman.
Whatever, I'll take it.
But it was from like one stray bullet, and it's weird because some of it's how they pick and choose the cases. I think that's why people are a little bit.
I mean, I think cops in general are a little trigger happy, so like,
Yeah.
I'll still take it. Like, straight bullet or not, like maybe you shouldn't have been shooting people. You don't
Oh, absolutely.
you
No,
don't need to. There are many other ways with which you can take down a person unless they are shooting at you. And even then, you might not necessarily have to shoot them.
well, that's true too. I just Freeman just kind of rubs me the wrong way of how he's kind of went about
I mean, maybe the
applying all
mob will
this.
burn his house down too.
I would not be shocked. It does not sound like he has a lot of fans out there. And I'm still shocked again he hasn't had to recuse himself on it. Like, imagine
Frankly,
being in the DA in a particular county, and you clearly have at least friends or associates that know this person.
I
Like,
don't know. Like,
how do you?
I would do it. I'd be like, hey, he shouldn't have shot that guy. Too fucking bad.
Yeah, and well, that was my big issue with this thing is, like, why did it take an 8 to 9 minute video? Like, this is the reason why this is like everybody. There's almost been a universal reaction to this is because the video was continuous for 8 to 9 minutes.
Well, because you don't need to keep your knee on the neck of a person who is
Yeah,
handcuffed. You just don't.
but my point is like when you look at Aubrey, what's his name? The Aubrey, the guy who was down in Georgia who was basically
Oh
shot
yeah,
in
that
broad daylight.
that is fascinating as well, for a different reason
Or
in my world anyway.
or my bigger issue is what was the difference between this and Eric Garner?
That's another good point. I think the difference is strictly temporal. One happened years ago. One happened last. Well, technically this week. It's still Saturday.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting how quickly this is developed.
yeah, this has gone very quick.
That the thing. This time last week, that cop's life was normal.
I do
That
think that it's
sucks.
I do think time is part of it, but I don't know, man. It's I think a lot of people are just looking at this as the red herring, right?
Well,
Like,
this can only happen so many times. Like, I see. Like, my theory on like even Fox is starting to turn on these cops is like they know that they can only do this a set number of times before like they know they've even lost their own audience. And so it's like, okay, you guys fucked up and we will defend you this time. But like try not to do it again. And at a certain point it's like, you know what? We used up all our free passes. We're just gonna throw this guy into the fucking bus.
I don't know. I think it's more of, because I think there's two types of people who have been reacting to this. It's the people who think that this is an institutionalized problem, and the people who think this is a one-off. And the problem is
I
you
mean,
want
but those things are not mutually exclusive.
well, you're right, they're not mutually exclusive, but I do think that if you think this is a one-time thing, right, that it's not an institutionalized problem, then you're still going to
Well,
get things like the people who don't have video of what's happening, or the people who
how do you in good faith make the argument it's not an institutionalized problem when this has happened how many times in different parts of the country? Like, if you're trying to make the argument this is a one-off thing, like, well, that ship kind of sailed a long time ago. it
I
this
don't disagree with
happens
you.
this happens with regularity, and like I'll even say, like, yeah, some of them get more news coverage than others. There are plenty of other unjustified police shootings of white people as well that no one gives a damn about. I will admit that is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you just take the sheer number of unnecessary like deaths by cops, there is no way in hell this is not an institutionalized problem. And if you really want to make that argument, you're either an idiot or being disingenuous. And
Well, there's a lot of people
that's
who are
fine.
idiots. That's the problem.
Yeah, but like no one seems to be defending this guy, so at the very least there's that. But
Yeah, and my point, I think, is more of, I hope the reason is people have come around, and not the this was the one off. This is people have come around on it because they've gotten more knowledgeable about it,
I
and
mean,
not because they had an 8-minute video of a guy with his knee on his neck.
well, I
And
think
that,
the other problem too is like if you're trying to make the argument it's not an institutionalized problem, why were there four cops and the other three did not be like, hey man, take your knee off of that guy?
yeah,
Like, but by the fact that there were other officers just kind of hanging around, being like, "This is, I guess, this is fine by me." You've made that is proven to me it is at least an institutionalized problem in Minneapolis. But that I'm pretty sure it's a little wider in scope than that. But for argument's sake,
yeah.
I'll accept that premise. Like you don't fire four cops for like a not that's not a thing. But I will say though, for the Ahmaud Arbery thing, I had a very interesting conversation about that with some of my gaming buddies because so somehow it turned out that the guys that I like became friends with online are like New Hampshire Second Amendment, like give me liberty or give me death types,
Yeah.
and I love them because I in a way I feel bad for them because I was asking them like, let me get this straight, man. Like you guys go on and on about how like fuck the government and everyone should have guns, and then like this guy gets killed because he's jogging, and like the bootlickers are trying to defend this. And he's like, oh no, fuck those guys. Those guys are not real patriots. I hate them. And my guy was like, he said the people in his Second Amendment group are saying that those two fucking hicks should be lynched. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, no. If anyone tells you that that was okay, they are not like they're not part of the real movement that I'm within. Because basically what he told me was if some dude came up to me with a shotgun and like is not one, he said even if a cop tried to stop him when he had done nothing wrong, he would not have taken kindly to, but if just some random fucker,
Well, that's the other thing.
he goes, I would have shot his fucking head off. I'm like, fair enough.
Like, what are you gonna do when two guys in a truck with guns come at you, and it's like,
Well, yeah.
preferably not hang out with them and not stop and let them go ahead and use the guns on me.
But it's like I'm getting this view into like this like Second Amendment weirdo group, and they're actually much better people than I had previously assumed.
I mean, there's definitely good perspectives from a lot of different points of view that most people don't think about. Like a lot of people who are those like pro militia or pro Second Amendment groups, there is a point of view in their head that is, I want to be able to protect my family. I want to be able to say fuck you to the government. And I mean, basically, what happened in Minnesota was people saying "fuck you" to the government.
Well, yeah, and even he's like, well, I mean, if they're gonna fuck it up, then the city's gonna burn. That's on them. Like, that's how that works. Uh, Also, well, I forget what the hell were we talking about? He had mentioned to me something about crap. I completely lost my train of thought there. There was like something else he said to me I thought was really funny. It'll come to me eventually, but yeah, like long story short, I did not realize that there is like a group of a rather sizable from the he's showing me like the membership numbers for like his Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
A rather sizable group of people who are like, guns are great. Fuck, go ahead and shoot all the cops you want. I'm like, all right, that's
Oh,
interesting.
they exist. That definitely exists.
Yeah, but like I play video games with them on a nightly basis.
Oh, these are the same people that you were playing video games
Yes,
with. That
these are people I've grown very close to. I'm gonna so like they live in Manchester and
yeah.
they're pretty close to Boston, and I was gonna take a trip up to Boston this summer, but clearly the world had other plans for that. But when I get a chance to go up there, we're gonna like spend like a couple days like in Boston, and then I'm gonna go up to Manchester with them so we can go shoot guns. Because he's like, dude, I have all these cool guns you got to shoot. I'm like, all right, man, if that's what you think, sure, why not? Sure, we'll go to the range. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I got like he was like, I got like 5 different guns you have to try. I'm like, I feel like he's super excited to have a person from New Jersey get to shoot big guns that I would likely never otherwise even come into contact with.
Yeah, not unless you went to a shooting range, like somewhere that's like a very high-end shooting range.
Yes. So, and he's like, yeah, he goes, if you're lucky, some of the other guys will be there and they have some cool stuff. And I'm like, all right, man. So I may well be in for a smorgasbord of shooting guns when I go up there. It'll be interesting. But yeah, like I suppose I didn't really realize that was their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I actually expected them to be sort of bootlickers, but they're like, nope, we would get together and we'd hang those fuckers. I'm like, I would love to see a mob of like white men with guns hang a white guy. Because I would think the world is all fucked up.
For killing the black dude.
Yeah, like wait a minute, where do I live?
So I don't know, maybe we go to this direction. How do we fix that problem as far as like how do you fix the institutionalized racism problem as far as the police departments go? Because I think I have a few ideas of how you can do that.
So being a pragmatist, I don't think there is a quick and easy fix.
Oh, none of it's quick and easy. I
Like
agree with you on that.
I think what you have to do is you just have to hire different types of people and let the shitty people age out and hold them accountable when they do fuck up. That's about as much as I can think of. Like maybe stop hiring like super macho high school dropouts.
Well, I think there's a couple of ways. I think you can reduce like the amount, like, because I think police unions have a big input into, like you were saying before about holding people accountable, like have disciplinary records publicly available as public records. New York doesn't even have that. New York State, again, this I like making fun of New York State for pretending that it's this big liberal bastion.
Oh, but they're not.
They're not. And we talked about it before on the other one where we're criticizing for their bail reform reactions and all that. I think that another way you can address it is like with them is again make the disciplinary records available for public review. If a cop has had multiple complaints, you should be able to look that up.
I mean, I've always you know what baffles me about some people? How like people who like hate unions but love the police union.
So yeah, and
that I've never gotten. You hate all unions except that one. Like, no, you can't do that. That's not how that works.
And if anything, public sector unions have way more power than private sector unions.
This is true.
Because they get to go ahead and put in their new bosses and they have the money to spend. And guess what? The people who they're putting in and helping to get elected, well, they're going to go ahead and choose what the salary is of the people who just helped get them elected. So it's kind of this weird circle of life. So that's why Democrats and Republicans love public sector unions because they help get. That's why they love Republicans because they get the That's why Republicans and Democrats love police unions because they get them into office.
So like I don't understand the people that like get mad at the teachers union but then say the police union is okay. Like no. They both have problems, to be
Yes.
fair, but like at least the teachers union isn't keeping murderers on their payroll, or maybe they are, but not to the same extent.
I would be very intrigued to find that one out. Oh, they have all murderers on the police union and the teachers union payroll. That is actually.
I'm going to go make the hot take that the police union has defended more murderers than the teachers union has. I'm gonna put that out there. I might be wrong, and if I am wrong, I am open to being corrected. But
And there's actually some evidence out there that the places where teachers make more, the students do better, and the places where teachers make more, typically where there's teachers unions.
well, yeah. And the other thing
So
too,
they're
like teachers are also like grossly underpaid for the most part. So I'm kind of like, all right, like what would their salaries be if they didn't have a teachers union?
well, New Jersey they do, but there's a lot of states where they don't.
Because like
And
I had a few clients that were teachers, and like I was always when I was looking at their financials for divorces, I was shocked at how little money they made, especially for the number of years of experience they had.
New Jersey, oh, is it New Jersey or New York?
New Jersey.
That was New Jersey, because I feel like New Jersey has a very
so it's district by district, of course.
yeah.
But these were mostly down in like South Jersey.
Gotcha.
I was shocked at how little money some of them made.
Because I know the teachers union does have like basically a rubric of how you're supposed to be, like how much you're supposed to be paid depending on your years in, education level, that kind of stuff.
Well, one of them was even telling me the way they get around that is they just hire people as like temporary, like year by year teachers.
Gotcha.
So they're like, yeah, sure, we'll hire you for this academic year, and then maybe we'll need you back, and then they just hire you over and over again for a 1-year contract, and that's how they avoid giving you raises. I'm like, that's shitty.
Damn.
Like she had been working for like the Brick Township school system for like 6 years in a row as a temp. Like that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be able to do that.
And like I said, there is some evidence that the more you pay teachers, the more the more money they have, the better the students do for some reason.
Well, I mean, you attract better teachers, to be fair. Like I'm not gonna go teach in some bumfuck town in Alabama and make $25,000 a year. Fuck that. I mean, same thing with. I mean, this is a similar issue with lawyers as well. Like how there's no lawyers in Alaska.
There's no lawyers in Alaska?
There are no law schools in Alaska, but the state of Alaska will actually pay attorneys to move out there and practice.
I did not know this.
They have a severe shortage. Well, okay, who the fuck goes to law school and says, let me move to Alaska?
That's an intriguing one. I still don't think I would do that, but yeah.
Like, even with, like, the government giving me money, I'd be like, your only town that matters is Anchorage. And even that's small by my standards.
And you're in the middle of nowhere. Like you're not near anything or anyone.
I don't want to live in a place where I'm closer to Russia than my home state.
It's like it's quite a ride. It's literally Canada between us.
But I'd rather go to Canada.
Yeah. Well, Canada. Funny enough, I was looking at that the other day, and apparently Canada gives you a deference as a lawyer as well. Like you can not have a job and be able to go to Canada and get through immigration.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend about that who had done something similar. And he's like, yeah, if you have like any sort of like terminal degree, Canada's like, yep, we want you. Like, they don't even care. They're like, yeah, sure. If Trump gets reelected, I do actually have an escape hatch. It turns out. I don't know if I mentioned this, but one of my coworkers at Legal Services, she is Canadian. She's from Vancouver. And she's like, if Trump gets reelected, let's just get married and you can move with me to Canada.
Yeah, but you don't even need to get married. Apparently, they'll just take you anyway.
Yeah, it's even faster if you're married, like because then it's by right.
That is true.
So yeah. It's like we'll just have a sham marriage and move to Canada.
Dude, that's a whole other level of scary.
So I'm very happy that I have an escape hatch.
So we can last another 4 years with this craziness.
Fuck all of you guys. You guys can stay here and suffer. I'll be living large in the Great White North.
Yeah. So how do we get all the way over to the Canadian border? We were talking about unions. We were talking about teachers.
Unions, which came to Alaska and then Canada.
Canada. Yes. Yeah, because we were talking about I guess, solving the the,
Oh
the
yeah, that's.
police,
I mean,
the systematic oppression. I think
maybe.
part of it could be training. You could definitely train a little bit more and get.
See, but I don't believe that you can like train shitty people to be not shitty people.
That's true, but
I
you can
feel like
design.
I feel
You can
like
design tests to kind of weed out those people.
fair, but then you have to fire them, and the police union is not going to let you do that.
Well, and that's where
Hence
open
why I feel
disciplinary
like
records.
there's no fix that doesn't take 20, 30 years. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that a little bit because again, like it's culture too. I think part of it could be hiring practices though, like the people coming in, and if they're not doing that now, they should. And I don't think every place is doing that. I don't think every place is changing their culture for the better.
Yeah, unless the police union gets behind getting rid of bad cops, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and then there comes the idea of taking away at least a little bit of the power from police unions, potentially, like making sure that they can't, maybe reduce the amount of money they could spend in elections.
Mm.
As an organization. Obviously, the individuals can still donate money in elections anyway.
Yeah, but I mean that's just like a general get money out of politics problem.
Yeah, but that's a particular one that that has an effect. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the shitty rules still exist. A lot of the shitty prosecutors are still prosecutors, and why a lot of the bad cops stay on the beat.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just more cynical than you. It's like, it's a nice idea, but let's be real, it ain't gonna happen.
People talk about it and keep it
I
in.
mean, I can think of one very easy way for this to become a problem. And this is actually a problem for some police departments in general,
Mhm.
is that some insurers will not insure them because they've had too many accidents. And it's like, well, now you got to pay for it every time you kill someone. Where are you gonna get that money? There are police officers or whatever that have gone down just because they've had too many shootings and too much property damage, and they could no longer afford to run a police station.
I did not know that one. That's a
So
shocker to me.
that's a much more common problem with like small towns. Large
Yeah.
cities have the money to fund their police like forces, but if you're like a small town that doesn't have like the massive tax base,
Yeah.
well, you oftentimes have to get insurance because if you accidentally kill someone and you end up having to pay out all this money, well, how are you going to fund your operations?
That's true.
So that is a problem for like smaller forces, which I would argue is part of the reason why we're seeing these issues happening in larger cities, because they don't have to worry about this.
It's
No
also
matter
just less
no matter how
bystanders to
well,
report on it.
well, yeah, but also like no matter how many people the NYPD kills, New York City is still going to pay for all the judgment, and it's not going to affect the police budget. There are no consequences for their actions. If the cities were willing to make a change and say, no, every time you cause something to happen and we have to pay out a judgment or a settlement, that's just going to come straight out of your budget. They might think twice about doing half the things they do.
That's true. Well, I do, and I've seen people propose that is that to have it come out of their budget directly or indirectly.
I mean, but this is kind of why, like, I don't buy what half of these mayors in these cities say. Like, yeah, sure, you got like full democratic control in your city, but you're not willing to implement a policy that would basically cause that to happen.
Oh, well, first off, because a lot of the Democrats are still very much going to side with police officers, because again, the police officers union is very much tied to the Democrats in a lot of states. Even look at Amy Klobuchar, who
Yeah, any hope she had of being VP have gone up in smoke. She can thank that cop for that.
thank God. Oh my God. I'll say this: she was the one Democratic candidate last year I did not want to see be president or vice president. She was
I mean, I don't harbor any ill will towards her, frankly. I don't know enough about her to care. But it was just like, you cannot possibly expect that anyone's going to pick you to be VP after this happened. I'm sorry. You are too connected to it. You're just going to have to accept that.
Well, because there was that one, the one thing that really gives me problems with her is, I mean, I was reading the other day that there was what's it called? 122 police misconduct cases and like no prosecutions of any of them, and
Yeah,
there was
exactly. And but
29 deaths while they were on her watch.
you might have been able to sweep that under the rug, except now you can't.
Yeah.
So the
And
spotlight's on you.
and then there was also the Taisha Edwards Mayan Burrell case that Mayan Burrell was the teenager who she bragged about being the driving force about getting him, sent to jail. And then it came out that like he actually is probably innocent.
Wait, speaking of which, speaking of this, that video, that stupid white lady in Central Park, and now
Oh, Amy
whining,
Cooper.
and now she's whining that her life has been ruined. Like, no, 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 you did that.
Yeah, no,
that is 100%
I
you.
what I don't get with the Amy Cooper thing, right? You know this is a thing. You see his phone is out.
That's
You
what
don't say this shit.
That's what I don't understand. Like, are these people just that stupid?
Like, it wasn't even just that you are clearly being racist. It is you are clearly a fucking moron in addition to
No,
being
that's
a racist.
but all these people that do this shit, all of them, like the just going back years, all of the stupid people that decide to do and say racist shit, and then it gets recorded and put on the internet. Were you not thinking in the moment? Did you really think the internet was gonna be like, yeah, I agree with that asshole? No, like that one lady that like fucking called the cops on the little girl selling fucking water bottles or whatever. Like,
Oh, yeah, last year's thing. That was
what, what, in what world did you think that you were gonna come out of this looking good?
and there was also a barbecue Becky or whatever, the one
Yeah,
out in Oakland who
in
was like
in
calling the cops on them for having a barbecue in the park.
or like just even the other like just even this week there was like one woman yelling at like fucking Puerto Ricans for playing what she called not American music.
I did see that.
And like
They handled that really well, though.
here's my take on this. Puerto Rico is part of America.
Yes.
And so, like, you telling them that Puerto Rican music is not American music is roughly the same thing as you telling me that Springsteen is not American music. Like, yes, they are playing Puerto Rico music. I will play my New Jersey music, but I'm not from Minnesota. Like, it is equivalent to me of someone telling me that Springsteen is not American music because it's not Minnesota.
I
Like,
mew if you played it in Minnesota, they might accuse it being. They might think that it's not American music.
It's like, fuck you. I don't understand. I really don't understand. But like, I'm sure in the next couple of days, this person's identity will be leaked, and they will likely be in a world of hurt on the internet.
Yeah, man.
But
It's been a weird few weeks. Like it was weird. I feel like we went for like a while without there being a lot of this in the news, and then all of a sudden there has
well,
been
I
like,
mean, the last couple of months, people have kind of been cooped up, so I can see why that might have fallen off a bit. But see, I will fully admit this. I do kind of love the fact that the internet is in its way its own like vigilante justice, where like we dox these people and fucking shame them into the ground.
I do. I it depends. Like this kind of case, I like it. And then when it comes to like stupid little things, like it's like, did this really need to be as blown up? I don't have one as an example, but for things like the Amy Cooper thing, she absolutely deserved to be roasted for that.
Sometimes I think the internet takes it too far, but on the other hand, it's like, but have you not seen what happens to people who do this? Where it's like at a certain point, like when do you bear responsibility for your own misery because you should have known better?
Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, John, for coming on. And thank you for listening. And we'll post more of this recording. I think we'll do another recording soon regarding everything that's happened the last week and a half. 50A was repealed. That was the police disciplinary records. That had to do with police disciplinary records in New York. New Jersey released a whole bunch of guidelines as to how the police are going to be operating. So we have to, we have so much to address. Minnesota disbanded their police department. There's now a big move to defund the police. So we will definitely address that in the next episode, and then I'll post the rest of this audio maybe another time, just as a special, because there was a lot that we discussed beyond just what we talked about in the 45 minutes that you listened to. So I do think a lot of that was also very intriguing, but I just think right now, because of how everything is, Again, thank you for listening. You can follow the podcast at Punklaw 101 on Instagram and Twitter. There's a Facebook page. You can follow it there as well. And I posted at all those spots. You can follow me at BROJO, Death is in the End of Life, and Punch, like a delicious drink you drink in the summer. And tune in next time. And we'll be back. We're back. We are back. We will be back. We have not been canceled yet.